Hey everyone, welcome to the Summer 2015 North American Challengers Series playoffs. I'm David Figturley. Alongside me is the guiding light in our dark night sky, Aiden Zyrene Moon.
I'm the light at the end of the tunnel. It's why people watch this broadcast. No.
Sure. All right. Would you say you're more of a full moon or a new moon right now?
Didn't you like use this joke a while ago?
I did.
I was like, am I waxing or waning? I don't know.
We're going to move on. We're now down to the second round of the Summer Challenger playoffs. Tonight is the battle for third place and the final spot in the spring promotion tournament. Last week, Renegades and Team Coast won their semifinal matches, and they're going to butt heads in the finals tomorrow night in the LCS stage in Los Angeles.
And then Team Imagine and Cloud9 Tempest, they lost those matches, which leads to tonight's critical showdown for the last spot in the promotion tournament. At the end of these playoffs, first place automatically enters the LCS, replacing TDK in 2016. Second and third will compete against Teammate and Enemy Esports in the spring promotion tournament for a chance to win their spots in the LCS.
That's going to be, of course, a lot of very important battles heading in front of us, but the battle for the promo tournament tonight begins in just a couple of minutes. As we get ready, let's quickly break down each team's match here. Of course, Team Imagine versus Cloud9 Tempest and their strengths and weaknesses. So starting on the blue side here is Team Imagine. Yeah,
Team Imagine, they went 6-4 in the regular season, ending up in third place in the standings. But they got there largely in part after the acquisition of AD carry Steelback from Fnatic in Week 4. After he joined Imagine, they won 4 straight games and seemed to be in one of the best challenger squads until facing Renegades last week in the semifinals. But even then, they split that series 2-1. And gave them a run for their money.
It was definitely a good series. I think 2-1 was the score I was expecting out of the series. Moon hard carried game 2. Very big props to him for being a good player. And it was just a bit of fun to watch. Of course, they got outskilled. So against Renegades, you know, they tried, they did what they could. Steelback just couldn't get far enough ahead. The guy still doesn't do all that well in lane, but as a team fighter, he's great. The overall shot calling of Imagine is actually quite strong as well. But the big deal was the fact that this team got outlaned. There's no way to get back in after they got that far behind early on.
Yeah, and that's a big problem for Imagine, is their laning is not that great. And that's where they fall behind. Around 15 minutes, they average down about 1,000 gold. So if they hope to win tonight, they need Moon to have another one of those performances and get the team through the laning phase. Or they just need to have everybody step up their laning phase.
I think it's very unlikely because honestly, Cloud9 Tempest here are I think on an individual player level, at least in the laning phase, I would say slightly stronger. Honestly, it's interesting watching C9T here because they came in as one of, I would say, some pretty big favorites. But I think they've got a lot to prove now because they got 2-0'd by Coast. Like, they clearly don't look like one of those top dogs here, and they might just miss the postseason.
Yeah, and Cloud9 Tempest, they were 2-0'd by Coast and seemed outclassed in those defeats. But Team Coast is the #1 team from the summer split, so tonight's match should be more even. And this is a team that can win from behind, but can also win early game thanks to Jungler Hard and his ganks.
Yeah.
And their shot calling is what really gets them in that late game. It's been a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's a really good call, sometimes it's a really bad call. So theirs has been up in the air 50-50s at the end of the game. But if they get that large advantage, they just group up with Laud and they end the game.
Yeah, and anytime you have a shot caller which leads your team to 50-50 calls, it means you're making aggressive calls, but you don't have the knowledge to understand if they're good ones or not yet. And it's, of course, a process. It's in the works. They'll improve over time, but at this stage, we hadn't seen C9T make a lot of really, really good choices. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't have to fall entirely on Hard's shoulders. You talked about Hard having some really good ganks in the prior series. Honestly, it's a lot of talented players on this roster. Again, their laning phase is largely very good. So who actually carries from C9T is up in the air. Any one of these guys could do it.
Yeah, I mean, Solo in the top lane has the highest kill participation for top laners, and the highest on his team, I believe, behind his support, and I think AD carry. I actually think he's higher than the support. I think he's actually very high up there. So he's around 78%. He TPs into most fights. Solo's the guy who actually solo kills in lane as well. And if he's able to get a carry type champion, we see Olaf coming into fruition. Yeah. We see Gnar being used very effectively now. And he's still the guy that you have to, that people were banning Fizz against. I don't know if you have to do it as much anymore, but he's still that guy who's going after the AD carry in every fight, and he's going to try to dominate the top lane.
Yeah, it's definitely one to watch for. I really do think one of the biggest matchups here that I think are likely to be tilted in C9T's favor is that top lane matchup, Chunky Fresh or Imagine, Solo here from Cloud9 Tempest, because Solo actually came close to holding up against Chris. It was actually a reasonably close matchup. Both those games were Olaf versus Gnar.
They went back and forth.
The really, really big top laners right now. We saw it from TSM as well. Olaf, Gnar. You know, everyone has their own ideas of what is powerful, but it seems like the laning dominant C9T might be looking to those champions.
Yeah, and you can see a Gangplank actually banned against Solo. It seems like he's been practicing that in solo queue. That leaves Olaf up. That leaves another carry top laner. I like the Azir ban and the Sivir ban against Steelback and ManCloud. They're definitely a tier above the rest in those guys' champion pools.
Yeah, those are easily those guys' best champions. So far, very smart bans with C9T. Even though Laud, of course, is a good Sivir player, I can respect sort of dropping off the S tier of another player. Final ban comes through as Elise for Team Imagine. Now, Moon's Nidalee, of course, is still up. He is carrying on Nidalee and Evelyn specifically really hard in the prior series. And it seems like carry junglers are the big thing to play on really both sides.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go. You know, Hard, he can fall back on the Gragas and the Rek'Sai. He's played them a lot, but Moon's success has been Nidalee, Evelyn. Elise banned away as well, but he's going to be able to lock in an Evelyn first pick if that's what they want to go with here on Team Imagine side. But they already pinched top laners Gnar and Gangplank off, so I'm assuming they're going to take something up here for solo in the first round. They will get a counter pick on Imagine side if that's what happens, but I feel like you have to just grab the priority pick while it's still up.
Yeah, and we were talking about Olaf and Gnar being really big, and the fact that actually C9T was picking Olaf first round red side, even in their Coast matchup as well. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty likely here. So depending on what they get for the rest of this pinch, though, I think, yeah, Olaf's definitely smart, but seeing what they get secondarily here, every single support is up. I don't think you'd really see a Braum. I don't think it's a big enough deal when Alistair or Janna are both still up that it feels like it's not required.
I have this kind of like, Kobe and Jat and I were going back and forth on what like the S tier is right now, and I feel like Olaf has cracked into the S tier of top laners, and I feel like Braum is actually cracked into the S tier of supports. And I feel like if you let Braum go away when you have a team composition that doesn't exactly just want to do one thing, and that's go in, because he's very defensive. He also has offensive capabilities, so he's kind of like an Alistar, but with more defense.
Okay.
Because Alistar's very offensive support.
Yeah.
He can peel in team fights, that's fine, and then Janna's just the polar opposite of just a ton of disengage.
Yeah, I mean, Braum basically essentially blinds your mid laner and enemy AD carry by just saying it has to hit me instead, you can't hit our squishies. So yeah, it's interesting here. Either way, the pickup ends up being Kalista there, so they go for the top tier of the AD carry pool. We'd actually seen her banned away a lot in playoffs. Still, of course, a high-prized ADC. Sivir gone away. And instead of letting Sivir get picked and playing the counter matchup, they just don't want Sivir in at all.
Yeah, so I assume that Steelback's going to fall back on Corki or Tristana. Those are both up. We do see a Braum get locked in here, though. And then ManCloud actually just goes one champion down on pretty much the tier list from Azir to Victor, which everybody's just all about right now. There has been the mid Lulu that we saw actually rise up in the TSM set. We saw it in the TIP set in playoffs.
Yeah, true.
So Lulu is actually jumping up the tier list as well.
It's interesting to see how players perceive the power level of different champions, even though they don't even change. The champions don't go anywhere, but everyone's like, you know what, this one's actually more valuable than we actually realized. So interesting to see those trends develop over time. Team Imagine so far, I actually like this lineup. Pretty high damage. I do like that Moon is on a strong Runeglaive jungler. This is his style. He's one of the probably best players on this team overall, and he has the ability to impact that. I also, by the way, like the fact that because Solo is going to be playing pretty aggressively, they have a strong ganking jungler, something that can actually affect the split push, and Moon can make the top lane matchup work well. Meanwhile, C9T go for their side of things, actually go for a tank jungler for Hard. He gets back on that Gragas that he played in the last set, and just a safe Janna for Sheep.
Yeah, I was assuming Gragas or Rek'Sai for Hard. Sheep, though, you know, Thresh is up, Thresh into Braum. It's an okay matchup. He's still Alistar, which is something that he's fallen to, but going with the Janna usually means that he's going to try to really empower this team, and there's some disengage here. There's a lot of peel back. But Olaf wants to run forward, so there's a little bit of a dyssynergy there, but if they can actually just have the right team fight, push people back, get Olaf into their backline if they're charging into you at the same time, it's this weird dynamic where a team fight has to go a certain way for you in order to come out with a perfect victory, because there's always a way to play out a team fight, even if it's not the ideal strategy.
Yeah, it's weird. There really is no like extra dive buddy with Olaf, and without giving him dedicated tankiness with like a, I'm going to say a Galio for some reason, but like even a Lulu mid you mentioned before, like something like that, then makes it work a whole lot better. So.
We saw a lot of Lulu with the Olaf. It just enabled him to go even faster. They added the movement speed to his Ragnarok for 1 second when you pop it, but Lulu giving him this constant movement speed burst is incredibly scary. You're an AD carry player.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been able to run into any Olaf Lulus yet.
When we first tested the big set of Olaf changes, like 2 years ago, whatever, I had to play against Olaf a few times, and I was like, if he's ever ahead, I don't have anything I can do. I get perma-slowed and can't kite him away. Like, I hope I'm playing Caitlyn, and even then I hope I'm 1,000 range away when the fight starts.
And you have flash, you can just...
Yeah, like I have to flash over a wall, and then maybe I'm safe, and it was really, really difficult. So, yeah, life's going to be hard, and we'll see Lulu is getting hovered right now. Meanwhile, the Imagine comp comes through. Just a very solid, aggressive team fight composition overall. A lot of burst here. Victor plus Corki plus the Hecarim is really solid at going in.
Good mixed damage.
Yeah, And C9T, it's really Olaf-centric, honestly.
Very Olaf-centric. Yusui, most likely, I've been seeing with the change to AP items, Lulu's going a little more damage impactful, going for the Luden's Echo, going for those types of things, so they actually have a damage threat in the late game to be an AP threat.
Well, I think they have to buy 80 AP or 100 AP regardless. Like, not even like there's really options. Everything has high AP, so it works out.
But the Luden's Echo was one that people weren't really getting at first when it came out on Lulu, and then they started getting it. The movement speed increase is really good. I mean, even better so for Lulu now.
Sure,
but, looking at the composition from Imagine, though, it's very good mixed damage. I like this. They have some poke there. They have the Braum to stop any sieges against them. And then they have Chunky Fresh. He likes the Scion. He likes the Hecarim. Getting the engages is important for Chunky Fresh, because if he starts his team off on the right foot, that's how they win those fights.
All right, well, he's got 4 feet to use on that Hecarim. We'll see if they're going to get the right one here. As you load onto the game, we want to know who's going to win this one. So tweet to us, let us know who's going to take it, who's going to get into the promo tournament at LoL Esports, hashtag IMG win, hashtag C9T win. We're going to share those votes in a few minutes into the game, but let us know. Best of 3, winner gets to face enemy esports or teammate in a best of 5 for a spot in the LCS.
So starting off on the right foot, if you have 4 feet, does that actually make
2 right feet?
But I'm just saying, if it's the right foot, not just right foot, because that's singular.
A right foot.
Which one is
the right foot?
The right.
Oh, it's actually harder on Hecarim.
It's harder, right? He only has a 25% chance
to choose correctly.
50%.
It's going to be difficult then, Chunky Fresh. Can you pick the right foot? I can't believe you went for that one, Zyrene. We are into the game. Team Imagine versus Cloud9 Tempest. Yes, guys, this Challenger Series, we say things like this.
I had to kind of deconstruct your whole thing and be like, you know what? Hecarim might be a detriment. But it's not. It's one of Chunky Fresh's better champions. We'll see what they're able to do on it. But I'm very curious as to what comes out here from C9T. Solo, we talked about him being very pivotal in their success. High kill participation, likes to get a part of the action from the top lane and see what he can do with that TP. And if he can get priority on this lane, because it is a Hecarim. Hecarim doesn't have escapes. When Olaf gets ahead, you're going to be blowing his ultimate. You're going to be getting Hecarim out of these fights and chasing him down the lane with constant slows. And I remember when Olaf top was becoming a thing for a bit. It was back when Jarvan was extremely popular. You wouldn't be able to take Ghost, and it kind of dissuaded people from going from the really just run you down Olaf, because you had to be able to flash out a Cataclysm at some point.
Yeah, Jarvan would just like wreck Olaf, and it made it really difficult.
But now with Jarvan out of the picture, it's been a long time. Buffs to Olaf. Olaf is no longer Olaf, and he's better.
Yeah, Black Cleaver definitely helped him a whole lot, and also people just realized his actual... That's always the weird thing with reworks, actually, when, like, because you brought up the term Olaf. Again, I will admit that Black Cleaver made the champion better, so we got stronger after a certain point. But one of the difficult things always with new champions or rework champions is part of the power of a champion is building them correctly, right? Imagine you like didn't realize to build Trinity Force and Hecarim. Hecarim would be weaker. And it's funny, like, if you look at all the common builds on Olaf, up until Zion Spartan played a bunch in LCS, it was like Righteous Glory first item, no offensive, full tank, and then people realized if you go Cleaver Hex Drinker, you kill things really fast. This is the build, and suddenly Olaf is stronger because of playing him properly. And it's this weird, like, hidden power level to the champion that you have to unlock by understanding the champion.
It was kind of the Lucian problem. When Lucian first came out, everybody was trying different builds. I remember it was very unsuccessful for a very long time until people were like, maybe I should go Trinity Force? Do I go IE first? And it was just all this mixture of things. But yes, build paths definitely, when you figure them out and hash them out, they make the champion stronger, of course, because you find the optimal build. Right. But the perception is normally, this champion sucks because you can't figure out what to build.
It's understandable. But either way, Olaf should be building a lot of attack damage. Solo was going for the Black Cleaver build in his games last week, and we are into this one. We do have, by the way, a lane swap scenario. Both supports did jungle with their AD carries. We have Braum actually running aggressively into that right side jungle, trying to find where Hard and Solo would be, but they've already cleared this jungle out. This does mean that Team Imagine knows where Solo is and where Hard is for the most part. They're top left jungle right now.
Solo going to the top lane. This is actually a 2-camp push. It's a very kind of emerging strategy. What you do is you wait 2 waves. You don't wait 3 because the third has the cannon minion in it, but you push the second one all the way to the turret. You pull all off top. He does 2 camps, not 3 with the jungler, and then your lanes are still 2. So you get up here very quickly, you get here right time,
and you go.
You don't even bring the jungler too. The jungler continues to get level 3 in the jungle, so he has his power.
Or ganks.
But yeah, exactly.
It unlocks the jungler to make the choice there.
Because the strategy used to be you pull all 4 people up after they do 3 camps.
Yep.
Because that's the time when the turret actually has the cannon minion wave on it.
Yep.
But people are prepping it better now.
And this is going to be a perfectly bounced wave. You can see, even though that wave is slightly injured, it'll freeze close enough to the dead turret that it will freeze into Cloud9 Tempest. Meanwhile, Imagine will be pushing it a bit later, but they will knock the turret down in time. There's nothing wrong with killing the turret a little bit slower.
Solo get the freeze.
One thing I do want to point out, though, is neither team got the deep ward down in case there was a defense coming.
Yeah, they all started with the standard wards just across the river and stuff. And nobody got not warned.
Well, like on
later.
the second round, though, like the Gianna comes down, puts the trinket down to see if someone's coming to defend the turret. No one did that step. I don't know if they saw the junglers running around, so they knew it wasn't a problem. But typically, when it's executed in a really high level, obviously didn't get punished here. There was no defense. But typically, I see actually one deep ward come down to make sure you see what your opponents are doing.
Oh, like harass them in the jungle and see?
Yeah, or just literally down the lane to see if someone's trying to focus XP.
I do like
catch them before they reach
I do like this though, because what they end up doing
yeah.
is they put these wards inside the lanes after they take the turret, right in the middle of it. And this always allows for a TP play if you do decide to collapse or if they do something crazy.
There's no turret to defend you. You get boned.
Exactly.
Super solid. Yeah, I really like this, Irene. Well, we'll see if that can keep happening. Also, Sheep got a couple of nice wards down in the southern jungle as well, so they can pretty easily track Moon on camps.
Yeah, you had to give up these turrets. You can see there was a ward placed in the bottom where Chunky Fresh is.
To stand.
Yeah, because there's he saw the ward come down too.
Man,
has to sacrifice it. Moon's
getting pretty wrecked here.
Moon's gonna run into Solo here in the jungle. Doesn't have smite.
He's found an auto attack. Oh no! He misplayed it. The E was still down. Solo, big play there, steals away the giant Krug for like 50-something gold. Now top lane outer still going down to this duo of Imagine. That's going pretty safely. Similar situation for C9T.
You're not going to bounce these waves though. There's way too many minions and everybody's just rushing these turrets down.
I think they could keep going though and go for number 2. I know Cliss hasn't really bought much. Only plus 1080 for the Vamp Scepter, but with Janna in it, and tier 2 turret supports don't have that same defensive stat, I think you could make the play. And Solo can still TP down.
If Imagine just bounce this wave, they get a much better wave off this.
Yeah. Unless, again, the outer turret gets pushed. But I don't think it'll happen.
The bottom turret, I feel like Baby doesn't have to be here. Baby could have backed.
Yeah, he could have backed sooner.
He'd be fine. They actually hit it too many times.
Yeah, this will be... Actually, it still might.
It still has a cannon minion in it.
Okay, so there's the push for bottom tier 2. Yeah, so Baby with a slightly late recall. This could be a pretty solid push. They can still teleport down Olaf if they need him. And wow, Chunky Fresh realizes he's under too much danger.
They're going to try to fight.
This could go really well for Imagine.
I don't know.
They found Moon. Oh no, a bunch of damage. Moon's got to run. First blood comes through to Lod. TP for Solo just in case to make sure it's all happy. And that was significantly better played by C9T.
Yep, C9T with the better map movements off the lane swap, forcing them into a decision. They picked the wrong one there. TP down from Solo. They might be able to put some pressure on this turret. There they go.
Going for the big play, the body slam flash, and they get him. Solo gets the kill out of the turret, ironically with 3 teammates help.
And they're going to get this turret too. Cloud9 is going to get this bot tier 2 turret, but wait, no, they back off.
They know the recalls came through. They know Corki is back. They
Victor
know
also left
respawned. That's a big one. That's the one I didn't see. So, all right, Imagine just barely defend the turret, but those 2 kills are still 2 kills. And yeah, that's what happens if you do hard push. Like, that's the thing. If you expect your opponents to sit under the turret and let the wave bounce and take their time, you can sometimes go for that hard push. C9T did it, and just like we saw at the very beginning of the Coast matchup, their early game plan is just better executed and better strategized, and was an early game advantage for C9T.
Yeah, 500 extra gold onto Solo and 500 extra gold onto Lod. Big carries for this team.
Oh, yeah.
They're the right people that you want this gold on.
That's a really, really good thing here. Small lane lead as well for Yasui, just kind of like we expected. C9T are doing a great job in the laning phase, even though a lot of it is lane swap antics.
Yeah, Lulu, I think, is actually very good in lane swaps because she's almost never going to lose the lane, regardless of who she's against. She's also a little bit of a bully against some mids that are 1 tier down from like Victor or Nazir. And another thing on top of that is even if she does get bullied out, she's always relevant. She's always just going to be able to show up to the fight, give her movement speed, and that's fine. But ManCloud was pulled out of the lane for a couple seconds multiple times. I saw him actually leave lane a little bit, fake down, fake up, and he lost some CS over time. So if Yasui was just picking up the CS that he wasn't, it slowly but surely amounted to this lead.
Yeah. The easy way to equate that actually is look at the experience on both these players. Granted, Yasui got like a blue buff here, but he was actually pretty significantly ahead XP-wise, even leading up to the blue buff getting taken. So you're right, ManCloud wasn't there, I believe, for a couple of minions in the overall scenario. Not too many, of course, wasn't a big difference, but...
Yeah. Up to 11 in CS difference, though.
Yep. Now, that Sentinel will die off. 10 gold for steal back and practically take plenty damage. No one's around to defend it. Of course, bot lane got pushed so deeply in that they had to go knock down minion waves, and it goes to Imagine.
But that's the scuttle crab of C9T. They see this happening, and Hard goes for the blue buff on the opposite side of the map.
Solid.
So this is a little bit of an advantage if it's not taken away. There we go. For Yasui as well, because he has the blue buff to ManCloud not having that, and not having the experience too. So it's not only just the fact he gets the mono regen and cooldown, it's the EXP.
Yep, first level 9, that's always important. But we're at a state now, ManCloud is level 7 with the augment. He will one-shot caster minions, but does not have that same mana pool that might make things a bit easier. We'll see if it pans out to be difficult, but ManCloud basically has guaranteed 4 CS per wave, regardless of the state of his opponent's champion.
It's also a very strange Victor Summoner spell, taking a heal in the mid lane against an Ignite on a Lulu. So I assume what it's for is later in the game.
Heal or barrier.
Yeah,
is usually the choice.
For Victors, usually you can get an Ignite too if you're looking for the kill pressure in lane. But I feel like this is for the Olaf later. This is for when the Olaf runs at you, tries to kill you.
Move speed's definitely valuable there. All right, well, fan vote right now does go slightly in the favor of Team Imagine based on seeding. Based on their earlier matchup, you would expect so as well. If I remember correctly, Imagine did 2-0 when these guys met earlier on in the split. Cloud and Tempest. We mentioned it in the semifinal, actually. They had been boot camping for a while at the C9 compound, and their early games definitely show it.
Yeah, and looking at just past records, Imagine they were 2-1 against Renegades, ended up losing that set. Cloud9 ended up going 2-0 down against Coast.
Yeah.
So looking at the history, looking at where these guys finished, Imagine finished 3rd, Cloud9 Tempest finished 4th, but it looks like the boot camp and the level 1 and the strategies that they're getting fed from Charlie seem to be helping them out. And Imagine, you know, this has always been Imagine's bane. Their early game and their laning always seems to fall short. They average about 1,000 gold down at 15 minutes, and then they have to compensate that through team fights later in the game. But C9T have a very good team fighting comp.
Yeah. As long as Olaf gets this money. And right now, he's sitting on 2,800 gold. He's actually right now, actually, Solo has the least money on his team that's not a support. So if it's focused around him, and it, to be honest, kind of is, he's actually a little bit behind the curve here.
Yeah.
In the way, he'll get some here, right? But it feels like with Moon and Stubak, or Chunkyfish trying to mess with them, honestly, Imagine doing a decent job of holding Solo down, despite that kill he got earlier. Yeah,
he was also up in CS. He had at one point, I think, double. It was something like 17 to 8 CS. But then they put Chunky Fresh in the frozen lane on the tier 2, and over time, over about 3-4 waves, he's been pushing it slowly in the top lane, all the way from his tier 2 to the tier 2 of Solo. And that's always very scary as a top laner, because you need to pull your jungler, you need to pull people's attention. Because if the 3 people show up top, and they dive you under that turret, you're dead. You will lose all the experience. Even if they trade 1-for-1 in kills, they
lost all the XP.
Yeah, all that experience is gone. It's a top laner's nightmare when there's a huge wave.
Yeah.
You want it, but you can't overextend for it.
Of course not. And just to flesh out the point I was talking earlier about the gold from Solo, even after that wave he cleared, he was still behind Hard, Lot, and Yasui in gold. So he is getting denied a fair bit of farm. You can see 53 CS to 91. Big disparity despite the kill he's got. So Team Imagine now, what can they do, right? You talked about the fact that they're typically down early on in the game. They're, you know, on course for that one, actually maybe a bit worse than average, to be fair. But we've still seen these guys make comebacks. We'll see if that happens here later on with their shot calling. But looking at the state of the game, Ruin King's already done here for Lod's Ballista. Teleport coming in, they go for the play.
I don't know, this is risky.
Really good knockback. Chunky Fresh has to run away. Maybe gonna buy some time, but now they can focus down on the support. Moved and a half as well, and C9T reacting very, very quickly. Well played by them, stymieing the aggression. All 5 now bot lane, nothing to be done here. Lulu could just push back in.
Gotta watch out for this. If Moon checks
Wow, they knew exactly what brush he was in. That was so smart. So you imagine Yasui had come down. They actually guessed where he was sitting, and they were correct there. So Imagine takes the long way around. See, this is actually the interesting thing, is... actually, hold on. We're going to go for the siege first. Hold on. Whoops, misclick. I want to talk about mid laners at some point, following versus pushing in mid, and what ends up being the right choice. And a lot of times you'll see really good mid laners will not respond to the roam, and just be like, he's roaming, leave, and get half the turret dead.
Yeah, that's if your team makes the executive decision of, we are not going to fight this.
Yes.
We're just going to pull them down. But you also have to keep them interested enough to pull the mid laner all the way down. Because if you walk back too fast, he goes back to the lane. He only misses about 2 CS. So it's this weird kind of dance where the mid laner and the bot and the other 4-man unit have to have good synergy.
Absolutely.
And communication.
Yep. This just ended up being a case where Yasui probably could have stayed mid, denied a wave, and ended up looking for a play that didn't happen. Really, really small thing, right? I'm not even saying it was wrong objectively, but the way it panned out ended up being he would be better sitting in the wave. I like putting out really small things, especially when games end up being a little bit slower paced. Sometimes staying in your lane is actually the right choice.
I like it. Challenger can be a little bit of a, teaching lesson too.
I do like doing that sometimes. So, Steelback getting closer and closer to Triforce. He's actually got the money for it when he recalls. That's a big deal. Level 9 and Trinity Force. Really, really nice on this Corki here.
Very curious about Laud's build though. Went for the Blade of the Rune King first. BT, is not as effective on her since the nerf. It's still very good. And then people went Rune's Hurricane first sometimes, but that seems to be splitting the difference between the two.
Yeah. I don't really feel like I've found out the reason why people do different builds. I've talked with players like Sneaky about it, and he's like, yeah, I just did a different build and it felt good, so I just did it. Like, no one ever seems to do the math behind it. It's just not how people are inclined. And I haven't seemed to find a compelling reason to for any of the builds. I feel like they're all equivalent, or close enough to equivalent. This will give him kiting potential. Chunky Fresh and Moon trying to dive him would be better at getting away from them.
Some good dueling too.
Yeah, I mean it's better in that regard. As long as you're not getting bursted out, Bloodthirster is more health, more durability, and as long as you're worrying about kiting more than getting bursted, then Rune King is at least directionally better. He's also got bonus attack damage already from Janna.
It helps you kill neutral monsters better.
It does make you better
Boom.
at that. Actually, I think one of the big ones is the synergy she has with Janna. You already have attack damage, so get other stats.
Nice, I like that. Get the life steal for the laning phase.
Well, you get Vamp anyway.
And
but
Vamp.
Doing the attack speed build, I can see it being a specific Janna thing. If you're going to find a specific
getting both is what I was
Right. Okay,
life steal and the attack speed.
Yep. Yeah.
I like
okay.
it.
Now we're on the same page because you were talking about Hurricane build still. I haven't seen Hurricane Rush in a long time.
Yeah, ever since people started going with like, some people were like,
Honestly,
people were like, IE first,
month or two.
Bloodthirster first.
I'm still okay with BT Ship as a build.
Yeah.
I think it's weaker since the changes, but I don't know. I never got to play it really. All right, mid lane easily cleared. Honestly, sieging against Corki plus Victor, fat chance, guys. C9T cannot make this kind of play. They can hope for the out-rotation. They can hope Imagine misses, and it only costs you 10 seconds to check for that. I can't say it's objectively wrong. Yet again, talking about kind of the difficulty of shot calling. Oh, didn't see the burst coming. Stole blue away from ManCloud.
That's the second blue that ManCloud has missed out on.
Yeah.
He's below half mana. And this is the thing about Victor, is you don't invest in a mana regen item.
Yeah, you at least get a bunch of flat mana from the item he has himself. It's plus 300 for him right now, so that's not terrible. But blue buff gives you regen based on max mana. That's why this build works out, is blue gives you all the regen you need. So ManCloud can
And he went CDR build too, so he has the ability to throw out a lot of spells and drain his mana pool and put a lot of pressure on himself.
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. We'll see if he gets punished for that one. If he ooms the next fight, in the next minute and a half, we'll know why. A lot of easy scuttle take on the bot side, but honestly, it feels like the lanes are getting in a state where Imagine are getting back in. Nothing's really died in a long time, and the gold is back to 500 when it was 1,500 apart.
Yeah, Solo doesn't have a way to push top lane out, so Chunky Fresh has been freezing extraordinarily well in the top lane and here's tier 2 for a long time.
And Steelback's remained up about 20 as well. This has actually been like that margin has been the same for a while here. ManCloud plus or minus 6, really not a big problem here. You look at Moon versus Hard, and despite the fact that Hard has 2 assists, Moon's got the same gold as him. So farm-wise, in the mid-game, as the lanes pan out, Imagine actually doing a much better job of acquiring gold. That's a really big deal for these guys.
Let's see what they can do with their map movements. The acquisition of Steelback did a lot for their late-game shot calling and their mid-game shot calling. It also helped them a lot in level 1s. This was a team that had a roster that was just switching all throughout the season.
Yeah.
They really, really, really want to make it to promotion tournament, still have even more time to solidify, Steelback in the roster, get everybody on the same page. And Moon is a guy that's constantly improving, and if you give him more time, then I'm sure he's going to come out swinging in the promotion tournament if they make it there. But they just have to get through C9T to make it that far. And C9T, they want to make LCS. These guys have been around for a good while. How many times has Laud been so close? That guy was in promo tournament at one point, I believe.
Yeah.
That Zed backdoor.
gosh. Poor guy. He's a really good player, too, of course. Lod's definitely an excellent...
Yeah. He went to London. I remember.
Yep.
It's a London roadshow.
He's a great mid laner and a great AD carry, at least for the challenger scene. We'll see if he can get that one step farther. The game slipping away right now from Cloud and Tempest, though still a lead for them, attempting to siege top tier 2. But yet again, Imagine are here in time. There's going to be no damage. Baby puts up the shield.
Steal back
even
bot.
take damage, but who cares? C9T's getting farmed. That's totally fine for Imagine. They're just getting more golden XP. Now it's a 300 gold lead.
Yep. Just have Victor walk up, clear the wave, and you're good.
With a Braum shield, which is actually a really big deal as well, because sometimes you can get like 500 damage in. And C9T now wrapping around behind the turret. This is a bit risky. They're taking some damage. They can't really fight back. To be fair, the Braum ulti misses, nothing is done, but C9T are trying so hard to knock turrets down with what to me feels honestly a bit mid-game focused of a team composition. Just when Lulu exists, that ends up being a bit mid-game focused. And they're not getting much headway. They're trying one more time. 5 mid. Heckerman not here yet. Baby puts up the shield, and Victor wave clears.
Nope, you're not going to be able to siege
C9T
this.
can't win this way.
You can't siege this. I love the Braum pick, and I like the Victor being able to clear out the waves instantaneously. C9T, if they keep doing what they're doing, Imagine's just slowly going to take a gold lead over them because C9T are not catching waves. You see Chunky Fresh, he's back at it again. He's freezing the top lane. Every time Chunky Fresh has an ability to get farm, he sits there, slowly CS's it, slowly pushes it out because that forces Solo to have to get ward control before he even goes to that wave. And even if he gets ward control, it's an Evelyn.
That's true. I think at this point, though, with now he's got Ninja Tabby and a Black Cleaver, I feel like Solo is probably fine against Chunky Fresh Moon. Just trade ults, and if you have to Ghost Away, do so. I expect Solo to be reasonably okay. With Red Buff, that might change. We can see maybe that turns around at some point here. I'm just unsure, honestly. I haven't seen this matchup play out too many times. But that could be one to watch for, though. If that top lane matchup ends up getting one-sided, it means so much for the game. Because right now, C9T, they've been trying to siege, but they have no way to dictate where their opponents go, except for just sending 5 people. And Imagine's wards are good enough, they just see him walk over and they show up in time. If Solo is actually able to pull attention because he beats Chunky Fresh, then you can't do that anymore. And Braum and Victor can't be there clearing the wave and blocking all the damage output. And this siege that C9T keeps trying will eventually work.
Yeah, next Dragon in about 30 seconds. Chunky Fresh, I don't believe he won't have Trinity Force by then, so it's actually a big spike for Solo over Chunky. Ooh. They both have TPs. If they're both in the top lane and they show up, you might see some kills falling over to either of those top laners and tilting that matchup. Chunky Fresh, though, like I said, no Trinity Force for this fight.
There's a difference in home guards, though, which could be a very big deal. The types of plays Heckerman is allowed to do are more numerous because of that utility buy he went for. Maybe something happens. It's going to be a hard one to watch for. Corki's already shoved out bottom. He's going back to join his team near mid. C9T, though, are well on their way. They're already here. They've already got the ward control. This is going to be a difficult stop for Imagine.
Chunky's backing for the TP, for the home guard.
But the wards are gone. There's one down to the bottom right.
He's going to go from the minions on the bot side. He's going for the minions on the bot.
Okay, here he goes. The ulti comes in from Braum. They want to knock down Solo. He ults out, takes
there he is.
And here's the push on in. He chooses to go for the Olaf. Gets the fear onto 4 of them. And it's a slaughter right now. Team Imagine pushing in 3 for 1 so far. Moon kiting in towards Lod. Lod can't do enough here. Ren's already on cooldown. 4 kills picked up. Yusui chased in to do some damage. Was forced to flash away because of that one. Good flank. There's the home guard paying off.
Every time I talk about Chunky Fresh, it's his Scion or his Hecarim, because this guy, he might fall behind in lane, he might not have a good game, but when he gets the engage, you sit there going, how did the other team let that happen? But it's because Chunky Fresh comes from strange places and he's communicating with his team about where they should focus them, where they should push them towards. And it's just so well played. He comes from the bottom and Baby is putting on so much pressure. C9T would actually have to shove into all of Imagine and burst them before Chunky Fresh got there. But you can see by their positioning, they were just spread. Such a good fear there. Oh my God.
Might have been 5. I don't know.
That looked like 4. I didn't account for Yusui. It doesn't matter though. They pick up everybody here.
That was actually really big too. The flash Braum ulti made Solo pop Olaf ult to get out of the knockup. And then Chunky Fresh, his charge was on Janna, actually. And then when the Olaf ult timed out, he just point-blank feared and also pushed Solo into his team, CC'd, and was killed.
It's so funny, too, because when I look at those ultimates, Sion ultimate, Hecarim ultimate, I'm always sitting there like, okay, I need to use it from a distance. Chunky Fresh is not afraid to use them point-blank.
It's basically Galio ult. He might as well play Home Guard Galio.
I remember that Sion game where he's just walking through the bot side jungle. There's 3 people in the red bush, and he's like, oh, I'm right next to them. Boom. 3-man knockup into another knockup.
Yep.
Chunky Fresh is really good at waiting for those types of opportunities. He doesn't force them. He doesn't overextend for them. And that's how he got his Trinity Force. The story's over.
Wonderful. Well, just enough money now for him. Life is good. TP is still up for Solo. I don't know if there's really much C9 can do to make a play around that teleport, but it exists.
And this is the same thing that happened to C9T against Coast in Game 1. They had a really good level 1. They played it out well. They got an advantage. Then the advantage slowly went away, and a team fight happened, and they lost it. And then just the momentum was entirely in the other team's favor. And C9T playing from behind, mid-game, late game, has always been a problem because they go for those aggressive plays. Get Dragon, get Baron, when they have it set up for them completely.
You know what I really liked, by the way, is the more I think about this, like that fight was won because of the home grade Hecarim, of course. Like I think we're all on the same page in that one. What I found interesting is there was a ward in the brush just to the right of Dragon, like between the lane and between Dragon, that little tiny brush that everyone knows. He chose not to TP there, but the one in the lane. Now the thing is that distance is not very big when you're a home guard charging Hecarim. He wanted to make sure they didn't see him teleport, I think. Or like they couldn't land a Glitter Lance on his way in. He like, I feel like that's the reason, right? Just like him having the room to play around the engage window felt like the choice he was making. And it was really smart because I was like, oh, just TP to that ward. And he goes to the lane and I was like, I don't understand why. Then it plays out really well. It's a really minor point, but it really intrigued me.
I didn't end up seeing that ward push.
I scrolled down on my computer, it was definitely there.
Nice. But I like the idea of coming from the bottom lane.
Yeah.
Running straight up because it put Laud in a terrible position.
Yeah.
Gives you less time to react to the actual TP. You'd have to be watching your minimap very closely when
you're dodging a
exactly that's not
Braum
what people
ultimate.
do. You're dodging a Braum ultimate.
Yeah.
And I actually give mad props to Baby too for that Braum ultimate across the opening of the Dragon.
Someone just yelled engage and he's like, all right, F it, I guess I will.
Chunky Fresh in the bot lane. Go. And they pinged it too. They pinged it ahead of time that he's coming to the minions. It was a play that they set up a little bit before. I really liked it, and that's going to be a huge play here for the entire game to just tip the scales in their favor very heavily. Imagine
they're winning now, and we'll see if Cloud can get their way back in on this one. It'll be difficult, but maybe it does happen.
Runan.
Mid lane just playing the wave through game back and forth. Yep, Runan's Hurricane being done for a lot is a big deal. Talisman of Ascension done for Sheep, also quite nice. He made the unfortunate choice of going for Spell Feast and being in a lane swap, so it didn't mean anything. And had to drop the sunk cost of selling it and buying a new GP10. But all is well, Sheep is my favorite support item in the game.
Sheep is your favorite support item?
Has my favorite support item.
I thought you said is.
Yes. If you could just hex people, that would be great. Just Sheep them as a support item. Not in this game. There are no hard CC items that I can remember.
Distortion. Oh, Zonya's your hard CC himself.
That doesn't.
Boom! Anyway.
Whatever. Who's got Distortion?
Distortion onto hard.
Oh, weird.
For the flash body slam cooldown.
That's an interesting choice. I don't know if I agree with it, but I guess if he lands some really good flashes, then I'm happy about it.
I think Jat and I were having a conversation about this when Gragas was really, really popular. It was Gragas, Sejuani, back and forth, back and forth. It's like, maybe rushing Distortion's a good idea.
Oh,
but we're going to talk about that in a second. Moon.
Gonna get jumped on, slowed down. He's saving the ulti. Doesn't even pop it. Chilling somebody thought was enough, and Yusui with the knockup gets away.
Yeah, it's so hard to get a Lulu anyway. 2 shields, movement speed increase, way to change you into something that's ineffective.
Manxloud's going Lichbane. This is interesting.
I like that build. I really do like that build.
Really bursty. Deathcap Lichbane is exciting.
Exciting.
Because it's a very different dynamic, right? He has to auto. He has to land Qs.
Yeah.
It changes the dynamic of that champion significantly.
They don't have any super long-range poke. People have to be in your face anyway on this team. Olaf will be in your face. Callisto will be 500 units away. Same thing with Lulu for the most part.
I mean, just really doubling down on your mid-range power is totally fine. Like, I really like Deathcap early on Victor as well. I think it's not bought early enough oftentimes. So I'm glad to see Manxloud buying this one.
And its synergy with Hex Core is big.
Well, that's exactly why, honestly, is raw AP is better than normal on this champion.
Yeah, you're looking at about 490 AP, and then Yasui's on 345.
Yep. And they have, like, almost the same gold. They're off by 300, and the difference in AP is massive. Well, moderate.
He's got about 25% more AP.
Pretty solid. All right, ManCloud gets his blue buff.
Finally.
LCS big plays. ManCloud's got mana regen. Just playing the wave clear game, though. All really Imagine has done is just show up to that one team fight, get a 4-for-1, and then wait around some more here. It's honestly been pretty slow going. Imagine haven't tried to make almost any aggressive moves whatsoever.
Playing around Dragon spawn time seems to be the name of the game. Imagine could get their third here. But C9T, I think they've been at every Dragon pretty early setting it up. There was that one.
The first one was given away to Imagine when they stole blue buff for it, which is
they traded it away. But then since then, C9T have always just been getting to the Dragon first. But right now, I like this. Imagine shove out the mid lane, put the threat of possibly having that happen. And here we are. 6 minutes later, Chunky Fresh's TP's back up. There's another play that can be made. And now C9T have complete control of Baron. But I don't know. They did this before against Coast. This is an aggressive call. We talked about
spotted them coming in. Blue Trinket uses as well. C9T can't really stay, but they're not taking much damage. They got time here. It's fine. Moon should be back in the game already.
Yeah, he is. He's moving around.
Yep. There's a under the broadcast pause. Play Challenger games on a delay and just the pauses happen at a different time. Oh, it's true. I think it's widely known, actually.
Yeah, it's actually good because then we never have to fill. Remember when we had to fill?
Yep. Less of that here. All right, well, when's the gravity field coming up? Imagine actually delaying on their zoning tools here. Gonna get knocked up. The turret's not dead yet. The hard comes in. They finally zone him out here. Jumping across the wall, trying to run away. Chunky Fresh just barely lives. He did not need the heal, actually. They should have timed the ignite. Chunky Fresh should have known he was safe. It's okay. Steelback pops it anyway, and they just run away gallantly. But mid lane getting fired out there. It's going to be a quick pickup for C9T.
No ultimate on Chunky Fresh, so if he TP's in, it's still not as big of a threat as it was before. Had to blow that as an escape.
And C9T is still trying. Chunky Fresh, though, has teleport, has home guard, has his ult. No, doesn't have his ulti. I take that back. But just some damage done. C9T forced to run away here, but successful fight and a successful turret kill.
Yeah.
Baron bait worked out. Solid.
One for one in turret kills in that. They ended up getting the turret mid.
Oh, you're right.
It fell down to minions after they had retreated. So overall, it's just a 1-for-1. But local gold doesn't go over to C9T. They had ran away. To Imagine, they had run away from the turret.
I think total gold earned technically goes C9T's way, but however, on the back foot of that, over-aggressive for mid-tier 2, they took too much damage, had to give away map control to give Dragon over to Team Imagine. I think the Baron bait was a good choice, but the follow-up just slightly underwhelming.
It's a scary choice.
Of course it is.
It's extremely scary.
I think it was correct in that case, though. We talked about, I think part of the reason I'm talking about this is our opening to C9T was, if you make shot calls that half the time fail miserably and half the time are good, it just means you're just taking risky calls all the time without understanding their merits. In these cases, I actually think like that choice was good, but it didn't play out well enough. And sort of like keeping that thread alive in my mind and trying to grade each of these, I'm actually so far fairly okay with C9T's choices.
What would you give that one?
I mean, it was fine. Like I would say it was correct. Like, I think it's hard to be like, is there a better choice out there somewhere in League of Legends?
I thought you were going to grade them. You're going to give it a B?
I'm doing pass-fail.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm taking one of those courses you're just getting to get units.
Oh, man.
I mean, like when you get one of those really hard courses where you know you're not going to get an A,
Freak
you want to keep your GPA up.
You pass or you fail. You know, it's pass-fail.
No, it's up to you. You know, you can take some pass-fail, and you can take some graded.
I don't have to take your course. I just don't like the way you grade it.
Yeah. I like my grading system. I grade on curve.
Pass with like 60%.
I'm grading on curve. All right.
On curve?
Yeah, on a curve.
Actually, that is kind of how League of Legends works.
How could you not?
Across regions.
You have to understand how everyone else plays, and it's just hard to think that far in the future. As we get ourselves into the game here, Dragon, of course, is gone, though, and there's not a whole lot to play for right now.
Yeah.
Moon, though, is getting a lot more farm. He's pushing the bot lane by himself. They're starting to give him a lot more of this money. His Riley's is done pretty soon. Now, actually.
Rylai's. I like 2 AP items on Evelyn now, possibly 3, depending on how offensive you're actually going to get with your build. He did go with the Ninja Tabi. Make sure that he can reduce some of the damage.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a defensive build from here.
I think it's interesting as well seeing the distributions of money. When we were watching LCS this last weekend, jungle, top, AD carry, mid were all actually very close together. they're within 1,000 of each other. But here you've actually got a 3,000 gold disparity between Hard and Yasui, and actually an over 3,000 gold disparity between Moon and ManCloud. It's actually a much more lopsided gold distribution in this game. But we're getting ourselves into the battles once again. Sheep forced to ult himself out.
Nope. Here comes Chunky Fresh.
This is going to be pretty dangerous. Only hits Hard, flashes, goes in, looks for Sheep, who gets all the way, but Law just gets evaporated. ManCloud doing big damage. Sheep's going to go down too. A double kill for the mid lane, and the trade for Chunky Fresh, but Solo is not in the best spot. Gets a lot of spells. Ooh.
That extra movement speed from the Whimsy there.
Big deal.
Got him out. Chunky Fresh sacrifices himself for a lot of engagements. Was, once again, another good engagement here. They can actually do this Baron. They have their jungler. They have their smite available.
This is scary, though. Hard has flash in 7 seconds, and he's got smite. This could be...
There's a ward in the pit. Just got to clear it behind the Baron.
They have no way of zoning him out, though.
Oh, wait.
He's going to lose some health.
Oh, don't stand behind it.
This is scary. Okay, Steelback goes in to fight
Hard.
Hard.
He left them.
He pushed them out.
That's so weak.
But they don't have the damage to kill it. ManCloud is a tank. Oh, no. No one gets Baron. Oh, no. And Steelback's got to be careful. Solo does some big damage here.
Steelback went over the wall, and then it's just Moon and Baby left in the pit.
I don't know where ManCloud was, if he was Oop or something, but...
That's so low.
I think Steelback was the only guy who could have stopped that, though. I think he made the right choice as well.
Yeah.
I would not give a 50-50 Baron away. I would just not let that happen if you're already winning as Imagine. So I think Steelback did the right choice, but I think he didn't have enough team around to finish the Baron off.
Pass again. I like that. Over the wall from ManCloud.
Super good.
Oh, and it actually put Sheep in a terrible place too when he Fate's called right as he died. Oh, just barely Solo makes it out.
Sheep flashed too. That was unnecessary.
Yeah, he got Fate's called backwards into Lod, who just got annihilated, and then he was
left.
He was put in a worse place.
Well, you just press right click. I think you can still jettison from a corpse.
Yeah, you can. He just didn't go far enough.
Silly Sheep.
Yeah. Oh well. Blows his flash, ends up dying anyway. Imagine still in the lead by 1,000 gold. They didn't get much for the Baron Force, but they didn't give up anything for it either. You can see,
true.
See Yasui, he's going for the offensive build here. CDR, of course, with the boots, so that you get this movement speed and the shield more often. But the Luden's Echo to actually be a damage threat.
Actually, I have a question on that one if we're not going to get in a fight real quick. What would you consider the non-damage third item here?
Some people end up going for like Zhonya's, right? Because Luden's Echo just gives you that extra burst. Zhonya's is more defensive option.
I mean, they cost the same though, right? I guess for not dying as opposed to like, I was thinking like, how else would you get more utility? Because like AP is the only way you get utility in the champion. Yeah, I see what you're going for though. Okay, I get it. I get it. Yeah, Zhonya's would be a defensive option, not get killed yourself, and you wouldn't have to ult or shield yourself as much. Yeah. So okay, I feel you. Yeah, I get what you're going for. I'm just curious.
Go for a Rylai.
Oh, Moon's gonna find somebody though. Rylai's goodbye. Holy cow. Hard takes a bit of pain as well. He's got a flash away from that one. Shorter cooldown thanks to distortion, but gets wrecked all the same. Good pick.
Oh man, Lot is just out of position a lot. He hasn't been able to blow his heal in the last 2 fights where he's died. He just gets destroyed very, very quickly. Everybody just dives him and he can't get out.
Yeah, just they're not quite respecting the Evelynn enough. And the thing is, because it's gone Rylai's, Moon doesn't have to use the ulti for these picks. Like, normally she has no CC and it's so hard. You have to ult and hope it's enough.
Yeah, she just runs around spamming Q. 20% slow,
Rylai's.
20% slow.
Shouldn't it be 40? It's just an AoE. It's not a multi-hit. Or is it? I guess it kind of... No, it's just an AoE.
It's just an AoE.
Yeah. I mean, it would have to be a dot to not be a 40% slow.
Yeah.
God, that's so ridiculous.
I don't know why I was thinking Elise, because Elise gets 20% slow from her minions when she has it.
The minions apply that?
They should.
Really?
I would assume so.
I don't think they apply spell effects.
Pets.
Oh, you're right. We did the pets change. All right, well, Dragon goes over 4th of the game for Imagine here. They are 6 minutes away from Aspect. Baron, of course, is perennially on the field, though it's been difficult to take for both these sides. But slowly and surely, Imagine playing to get these objectives, and they're picking them up.
1 Dragon away from that Dragon 5. 6 minutes from now, they have that win condition on the table. But so far, they've been winning the majority of these team fights, these skirmishes, these picks. And C9T, honestly, when you look around and you look at these last few plays, you're like, where was Solo? Why weren't they forcing something? They fell back. Now, they're forcing an objective here. Chunky Fresh, opposite side of the map. Needs to start backing now if he wants the home guard, but he's not going to go. He's going to go straight for the TP here. And we're going to have a fight.
A lot of damage put on, and Sheep's going to be in a really bad spot. Ult's in, then gets ulted out. He's going to look for Solo going down, though. 1 for nothing. They're going for the second chases here, and Lod's going to lose his life. 3 kills picked up already. Imagine cannot lose a team fight.
Seems like they can't at all. They're going to get this Baron right after that, too. Chunky Fresh is trying to zone out hard, make sure that there's no way he can get in here. Baby, though, I mean, it's still stealable.
Steelback wants in again to stop him, flashes over the wall to do so, but it's enough to get hard away from this fight. He cannot stop this Baron now. Very smart choice being made there. Baron goes over to Team Imagine. Really solid.
I really like that. As a jungler, I just hate it when somebody doesn't jump out of the pit and stop the guy.
What group would you give him?
Oh, I would give that an A+ right there. I'd give that an A+, School of Zyrene. Normally people think you have to send the hard CC guy after him. We'll talk about that in a second. But, oh, man.
Solo just dies so fast.
Into it. Chunky Fresh hasn't even used his ultimate yet. He gets to use it here.
You didn't ult Olaf either? Yeah. Oh, God.
Ended up ulting for the attempted save there. But yeah. Normally, you think you have to send the disengage, the Alistar headbutt over the wall, the Gragas barrel to like knock the person away. But hardest CC is killing somebody.
Yeah.
So just send the kill threat after them.
CC.
They got it down to about 2,000 HP, and then he jumped over the wall.
Oh, hard.
Oh boy. Oh, take down.
Wow, really solid. Ward over the wall to make sure ManCloud could aim the ulti properly. Takes him out. Imagine so far ahead now, 5,500 gold up. They've got Baron. They've even got Dragon in their back pocket in about 4 minutes. It's a solid game now in the mid game and on beyond from Team Imagine.
They hit their double trendy forces. They know that they're able to push down these objectives, and they start doing Fate's Call.
I don't know if he meant to hit that. I'm pretty sure he didn't.
Oh, man. Just the siege is completely in favor of Imagine at the moment. They've had it all game, too.
Oh, wow, that poke was... Feels so bad.
The Victor clearing these waves. Look at that. Double trendy force shreds the turret and the Lich Bane.
Oh, yeah. These objectives are completely done here. All right, so bigger lead, 6,000 up. Team Imagine knocked on the first inhibitor. Bot lane tier 2 is basically free at this point.
When you're able to get through the early game as Imagine, the problems that they're seeing in their gameplay typically stem from the early game.
Yep.
But it's just a mismatch here. Cloud9 Tempest has a good early game. Imagine has a bad one. But Cloud9 Tempest,
don't transition.
There you go. Their mid-game calls versus Imagine's mid-game calls. Honestly, C9T need a larger advantage if they want to walk away with a victory in this entire series, because Imagine, they're just showing that if you win early, they don't care. They're going to beat you with teamfight coordination later on in the game.
That's the funny thing about getting an early lead off the lane swap is there's no turrets left to kill. And I mean, like, and C9T tried, right? They tried to siege. They made aggressive choices. This is never the problem. They're not trying to do things. The problem is trying to do the right things, and they never were able to do that. They didn't keep the blue buff steals going for long enough. The second blue of, like, ManCloud's second blue was just accidentally taken by Moon. It wasn't even pressured. It was still where there was a gold lead. C9T looked for turrets, and to Imagine's credit, they got there in time.
Oh, yeah.
You can't think you can siege against Victor Braum. You just don't.
Frustrating.
You just don't, though.
It's frustrating.
I know.
To see it happen.
And you bash your head into those comps for a while, and you learn, okay, I can't knock these turrets down. I have to find the other thing to shot call for. We'll play for different objectives, because the turrets aren't it. And it's tough to learn what those things are and how to set them up properly, but C9T unfortunately not finding the right things to go for.
And they're going to have to defend a dragon in a minute and 30 seconds with an inhib down middle.
Yeah.
5th dragon for Imagine. Imagine, ever since they got Steel back, they won those last 4 games, put themselves at 3rd place, and split the series with Renegades, which was considered a tournament favorite.
Yeah.
I think near the beginning of the season, everybody was saying, you know, C9T, Coast, Renegades.
Dogs. Yep.
People didn't know what order they were in, but they were assuming those were the top 3. Imagine the team that made it in off of Fusion not keeping their spot, had to play the 3rd, 4th place match to even get into Challenger, and now they're playing a 3rd, 4th place match to see if they get to compete in the LCS, or at least for the promotion tournament.
And in Spring Split, they'll play a 3rd, 4th place match in the LCS playoff.
Boom!
That's a bit forward thinking. No. But yeah, to add his credit though, they played their first 2 weeks on an almost entirely different roster. The only remaining player from week 2 is Chunky Fresh. Dardoch, Wolfie, Massacre, Indivisible, all replaced here down the line. Moon, ManCloud, Steelback, Baby. Doing a great job here, looking like a solid team in Challenger overall. we'll see if they can close this one out. 42 minutes in. Taking their time, certainly. Had to come back from a deficit.
Looking for a force here. It's Fifth Dragon in 10 seconds. And Hard just took about 1/3 of his HP, so he's down to 2/3. TP from behind.
Looks for the play. Knocks
Nobody's
it
there.
Cloud. A lot of damage, but Hard has no teammates at all. They got gummed up by the TP flank from Chunky Fresh. Solo's gone as well. Does Olaf not getting a chance to do anything. A double kill for ManCloud. Into the mid lane they go. Ride the dead inhibitor. This could be the game-winning push.
Screw Fifth Dragon. Just go for the victory here. They're going to push with all 5 members. It's just a Lulu and a Janna. It is a bit of their wave clear, but they're still very tanky. They might just decide to tank this out and kill a turret.
I think you can backdoor these turrets right here. You've got a blue elixir already on ManCloud. He does bonus damage. Plenty of AP as well. Juggling the aggro quite well. That is going to be it. There is no chance now for Cloud9 Tempest. Took him 43 minutes, but game 1 goes to Team Imagine. They are a nexus away from the promo tournament.
And they're showing that their team fight is what ends up getting them through.
Yep.
Honestly, MVP of that game has got to be Chunky Fresh for me. The TP flank in the first fight,
that was the fight.
Gave him the advantage. And then the second fight, same story. Was able to get on priority targets every single time.
Yep.
Huge credit to him. And then runner-up is kind of Baby, the guy that's always under the radar. The way that he was able to kind of play with Chunky Fresh, and that synergy seemed to work out for them very well this game.
Yeah, honestly, very solid. Baby 2-0-8. In fact, more than half the team went deathless. The bottom lane and mid lane all combined 0 deaths for Team Imagine here. And this was Team Imagine playing every single Team Imagine game you can think of. I didn't even mean to go for the double word there, but they're early laning a little bit rough. Damage comes through from the big damage dealers, and Chunky Fresh lands the team fight engage.
It's so strange too, because I'm looking at the post game damage, and Chunky Fresh only did 6.8 thousand.
Yeah,
he did less than Moon. He's the fourth highest damage on his team. He's only about 2,000 damage ahead of the support.
Yeah.
But he's still the guy who had that huge impact. His stats don't really show it. His kill participation's rather low. His KDA, his CSD, but it's those engages. It's those things you can't measure with the statistics.
I mean, he was 11 of 14, which, you're right, is actually lower than everyone not named Braum, but still, yeah, that's the thing is he was never in a heads-up battle against Olaf. He never truly laned against Solo. He just got his farm. You were talking about the slow pushes. He was accruing as much gold as he can without being in combat. Then when it finally did get pushed in, he would just go somewhere else. That was just very solid lane play by Chunky Fresh overall. Very avoidance focus, which I think was very smart. And then, yeah, you're right, very good ultimates. Flip it to C9T, I want to see an entirely different style.
Yeah.
The choice of Olaf was smart. Trying to play a split-pushing style, trying to abuse Chunky Fresh's weaker laning phase, and the fact that he relies on teamfight prowess above all else to be a good player. And yet they never played around the split push. It was never Olaf pushing up, getting the vision control, getting the help from his team, and turning that one over.
Yeah.
Gragas Olaf can do crazy things to people, and it never happened.
Yeah, they never went for pressure onto Chunky Fresh.
Never.
Chunky Fresh really only died in team fights. They never were able to go to the source of the split, never go to the source of the TP, never put pressure on him, and I feel like that was a missed opportunity, especially when it's a Hecarim.
Right, and that's what I mean about this is C9T, they make aggressive calls, but they don't often make the right calls here. Just the slow and steady burn of, let's go mess with Hecarim, who's fighting without a turret in his lane. You just kill the guy a bunch, right? That's possible. It is easy to do. Obviously, different leagues of teams, but CLG would just kill Chunky Fresh 7 times. As an example, right? That's what the best teams, at least in the region, will do, is they will look for the weak points and they will strategize for the opponent team. This is all very feature-seeking, but I think this is the kind of thing C9T needs to do. Play to the enemy team, play to what your team does, go dominate your lanes, dominate your early game like you did, and then capitalize on the individual lanes, not just go knock down a mid turret against Victor.
Yeah, because they had about a 1.6k gold advantage. We're talking
11
about
minutes.
11 minutes in the game, very early on, but pressuring, spending that gold on wards, pressing up your ward line, getting more turrets for it. They just started to group up and bang their heads against a Victor Braum, and you saw how that worked. It didn't.
It did not. It did not. And especially, again, you think about the team composition here. Imagine's very teamfight focused, ridiculous teamfight power. Victor's in there. He's ludicrous. He's got amazing things. Imagine need to get picks. They've got Lulu. They've got Olaf. They've got really individual playmakers, and they didn't play the individual game.
Yeah, and I feel like that was a big missed opportunity here. Coming into the next game, though, I want to see, banning away some of Chunky Fresh's champions. I know it's very strange to say.
You know
it's
exactly what
so
he'll play.
strange to say, but you know exactly what he'll play.
We'll see if they can get rid of that one. It's going to be a great game coming up, guys. As we get ready for game 2, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Team Imagine attempts to reach the spring promo tournament with one more win against Cloud9 Tempest. Don't go anywhere. And here's the push on in. He chooses to go for the Olaf. Gets the fear onto 4 of them. It's a slaughter right now. Team Imagine pushing in 3 for 1 so far. Flashes, goes in, looks for Sheep. Who gets all the way, but Lodges gets evaporated. ManCloud doing big damage. Sheep's going to go down 2. He's going to look for Solo going down, though. 1 for nothing. They're going for the second chases here. And Lod's going to lose his life. 3 kills picked up already.
TP from behind.
Looks for the play. Knocks
Nobody's
it
there.
ManCloud. A lot of damage, but hard. Has no teammates at all. They got gummed up.